ॐ ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरं लोकशंकरं शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम गुरुदेव भगवान शिव शंकर भोलेनाथ कैलाशपति महाराज की जय। भगवान व्यास जी महाराज की जय। शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय। स्वामी चिन्मयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी दयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी प्रबुद्धानंद भगवान की जय। माता पिता की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। ओम श्रीमद् भगवद गीता चैप्टर 3 वर्स नंबर 32। People who are critical of Shruti's vision are totally deluded. Ya त्वेतद् अभ्यासुयन्तो ननु तिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्वज्ञानान् विमूढमष्टन् विधिनाष्टन् अचेत् सह। तो whereas those who abhiyushyantah being critical without reason, etat this me my matam vision na anutishtanti do not follow सर्व ज्ञान विमूढ़ः deluded in all realm of knowledge। अचेष्टा devoid of discrimination, tana them, nashtana as lost, vidhi no। Whereas those who being critical of this teaching without reason do not follow my vision, who are deluded in all realms of knowledge and devoid of discrimination, know them as lost। In the previous verse, Krishna spoke to those who followed his vision, his mata, meaning the vision of Ishvara, Ishwarasya matam। Such people follow with Shraddha, without having any asuya, without trying to find fault with the vision. In other words, they are karma yogis. They too, they api gain liberation just as sannyasis do. For Krishna to have said these two type of people gain liberation, moksha, is in keeping with that he said in the beginning about there being only two lifestyles, nishtha for moksha, either sannyasa or karma yoga. There is no third nishtha at all, whether one is renunciated or a karma yogi, liberation can be gained throughout the Gita, there is often a tu, whereas indicating that a contrast which may seem to be criticism is being made to bring out the point Krishna was making. Suppose, for example, Krishna had said this particular thing will release you and is therefore good for you. He would then also say, and if you do not follow this, you will have this particular problem. In other words, if you have knowledge, you are free, and if you do not, you have a sansara. Here the particle tu is to denote such a contrast. This particle also indicates an answer to the question, even though the question may not actually be stated. The question may simply be implied, and the answer to be understood by tu. Tu is also used for emphasis. In this verse, however, tu contrasts people who do not follow the Lord's vision with those who do follow. Jnana Yoga or sannyasa, of course, is too far removed for those who do not follow Krishna's vision, whereas karma yoga, on the other hand, is possible for such people, but even this they do not follow. Na anutishtanti, instead they perform karmas solely to fulfill their own ragas and dveshas, without considering whether this approach can give them what they really want in life. Human life implies the use of reason, viveka. It is not just a matter of doing whatever one wants. People tend to think that they have to fulfill whatever desire pops up in their mind. This behavior is natural for an animal, but for a human being, if a dog feels like barking, it is natural for it to bark. The dogs need not think about whether it should bark or not, nor does it have the discriminating buddhi to do so. Whereas if you feel like shouting, you can always refrain from doing so, because you have a free will with discriminating buddhi. Human life implies discrimination at all levels. In order to live the life of human being, a person has to make use of this buddhi viveka. Krishna was talking here about those who do not make use of their viveka, in other words, those who do not follow his mata, because they have asuya. They are abhasuyantaha. To justify how they are living, they find some blemish or other with a reference to Krishna's vision. They criticize it, disregard it, and put forth an argument to justify what they are doing. Being critical, finding blemish in this mata, they do not follow it. With reference to these people, Krishna says, people know them, tana vidhi. Understand those who do not follow this vision to be sarva jnana vimudha, sarveshu jnaneshu vimudha. Sarveshu jnana vimudha, deluded in terms of all from knowledge. Such people are deluded about their familial and social obligation, which comes under karma yoga. They are deluded with the respect of national obligations also. They do not even remember to think about the many forces, devatas, that are constantly at work to keep them going, or towards whom they have certain obligations. All these obligations are disregarded by those who do not follow Krishna's vision. Instead, they think that the family, the society, and the nation are obliged to them. They think that society should protect them and help them gain whatever it is that they want And if the society fails to do this, then the national government should do it. People who think this way are self-centered, interested only in their welfare, which means fulfilling their ragas and dveshas, unmindful of welfare and interest of others. Thus, with reference to dharma and adharma, right and wrong, they are deluded, vimudha. They are also vimudhas with the reference to atma and anatma. What is real and not real, that is true and not true, with reference to all human pursuit, dharma, artha, kama and moksha, they are vimudhas. Even the reference to eating, they are deluded. They do not know what to eat, what not to eat, how much to eat, and so on. Without becoming a faddist, a person should know the basic of what is important in life. But for those people, delusion is rampant. It exists everywhere. This is the meaning of sarva in the expression sarva jnana vimudaha. At all level of understanding there is delusion. Thus we are to know that people being discussed here are totally deluded. At all level of understanding there is viveka involved. This viveka has to be applied with the reference to performing action and responding to situation. When people do not have viveka, we should understand that they are deluded. Their delusion is not in terms of having a low IQ. If such were the case, we would have not been talking about them at all. There are only problem in that they lack discrimination, in the sense that they have the capacity to discriminate, but they do not make use of it. Therefore, they are avivekis. Krishna referred to them as achetasha, achetas. And because they lack discrimination, they are deluded in every way. Such people are to be understood as lost. So he says, Tananashthan vidhi, tanashthan vidhi, know them to be lost. Nashtha is one who is lost to everything. One who does not get what is to be gained in this world. Even though the people being discussed here may have money and power, from the standpoint of viveka, from the standpoint of what they really want, they are definitely nashtas. If in the process of gaining money and power a number of conflicts are also gained, one has to question whether the money and power are worth having. A vivek is one who always think about whether that he or she want is good for him or her. One may want money for one's own happiness and peace. But if in process one also buys lot of conflict, sorrow and sleepless night, then the money is worthless to him or her. It may be useful to someone else, but not to him or her. If conflict accompanies any gain or the bargaining is a bad one. How bad it is has to be seen, and your ability to do so is always proportion to the discriminative powers you have. A mature person, one who has viveka, is one who sees the immensity of the loss involved when something is gained. When whatever you want to gain involves a great loss in terms of your happiness, your peace of mind, shanti, you should be able to see the laws at work and refrain from pursuit. That this is what is meant by viveka and maturity. When you take all the pros and cons into account, you may find that what you seemed like a good bargain is not really a bargain at all. Thus, the viveki is one who is not nashtha, lost. Those who are nashthas are lost in the sense that they do not get anything here in this world, much less in thereafter. They are not dead, they are lost, and this we have, and this we are to know. In the second chapter we have seen how this same idea was expressed. Here too the word pranasayati, he is destroyed, was used. There it was said that for one who dwells upon a given object, daya yataha pumsam, there develops an affection, some love for the object, and what a person loves, he or she wants to have. Thus, with reference to the object, a desire is born. Kama upajayate. If the desire is fulfilled, there is no problem. Only if it is not fulfilled, there is a problem. Not fulfilling a desire is more common than fulfilling it. Therefore, the unfulfilled desire leads to krodha, anger. And once anger comes, you are lost, gone. Among other things, anger brings about an inner torpor and prevents you from understanding the true situation. Whatever you have learned from the past, from similar situation, is not available to you when you are angry. You may have burned your finger before, but the wisdom gathered in the past is not at your service once krodha overtakes you. In the midst of anger, the memory, smriti, does not work, and your discriminative power, vivek shakti, is gone. The knowledge one has with reference to what is to be done, what is not to be done, the karya, akarya, viveka, your inquiry, etc. are lost. That is buddhi nasha take place. When the buddhi, cheta, is gone, the person is destroyed, lost. Pranasayati. Why? Because it is the buddhi that makes the person human being. If buddhi is gone, there is a problem. While we are to understand that such a person is lost, the loss is not an irreversible one. At any time the person can become a viveki. Therefore he or she is only lost for the time being. This also we must know, because of some grace these people may again question what they are doing and thereby alter their course. Any person given to crime can become a saint. The possibility or change is always there because the person has the buddhi. But for the time being, the person Krishna was talking about in this verse are lost. Shankara introduced a question here in this commentary. Given that Krishna had made his vision, his mata so clear, why do these people not follow it? What Krishna had said is reasonable and well explained. When the nishtha and the karam nishtha he talks about has been so carefully reasoned out, why do the people not follow it? Why do they follow something else? The reason given in that each one act according to his or her nature, swabhava. Because animals are programmed to behave in a certain manner. Nothing can be done about it. Thus, when a donkey brays or a tiger kills, it is because it is their nature, their swabhava to do so. A human being also has a swabhava. Some past, perhaps even a remote past, is there for a person that becomes his or her swabhava. The next two verses are particularly beautiful in this respect. Whatever one does is in keeping with one's swabhava alone. Verse number 33. Sadrasham cheshtate swasya prakratir jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha ki karyashati. Kim karyashati. Kim, what karyashati will do. Jnanavan, a wise person. Api, even. Swasaya, one's own prakriti of nature. Sadarsham, in keeping with. Cheshtate, acts. Bhutani, beings. Prakritim, one's own nature. Yanti, follow. Nigraha, control. What Kim karishyati, will do. Even a wise person acts in keeping with his or her own nature, because all being follows their own nature of what use is control. Prakriti is used to mean nature. This implies to everyone. Krishna says even to person who has knowledge, Jnanavan api. The only difference is that the nature, the prakriti of wise person is good, and therefore his or her actions will be good. This is the idea being conveyed here. And if even a jnani, a person of knowledge, performs action according to his or her own swabhava, nature, what control is possible? Action in keeping with one's swabhava applies to all living beings, including trees. If a tree is standalone, sandalwood tree, the whole tree will have a particular aroma, not just its flowers alone. Every tree, flower, plant, insect, bird, animal and human being, including the jnani, behaves and acts according to the prakriti. Prakritim yanti bhutani. Prakriti, prakritim yanti bhutani. Prakriti being what it is, neither the doer of the action nor anyone else can control it. Krishna himself controls it. As Shankara points out in his commentary, this is because the person has been given free will, which gives him or her the capacity to say no to anything. Therefore, what is there that can control it? Nigraha kim karishyati. Unless one listens to Krishna's vision and decide to behave differently, how is one going to stop a particular behavior or action? And if the person chooses not to listen, there is no don't that can control what such a person does. Because everyone acts in keeping with his or her swabhava. No control is possible, be it Krishna or the person's own control. Even if the Guru says to stop a particular behavior, how is the person going to stop? All that will happen is what he or she will continue, and behavior sthali. The Gita also incapable of controlling the person, since it is his or her own swabhava to act in such a way. However, if everyone behaves accordingly to his or her own nature, are we not going to have a problem? Where is free will in all this? If everyone were in the hands of Prakriti doing whatsoever is to be done according to his or her nature, no one would have to say over his or her action. Of what use is free will then? If free will is not a factor, there is no such thing as right and wrong. For right and wrong to be, free will must have a sphere, and if all action is in keeping with Prakriti, there is no such sphere. So there seems then to be no scope for Dharma Shastra. In all of this, if free will is not involved, what is the use of such a statement as go to Guru and listen? do this and that, otherwise you will get into trouble. Do this and you will get this, and so on. All such advice along with the entire Dharma Shastra, the Vedanta Shastra, would have no usefulness. Since you have free will, these books do have usefulness. Therefore the Gurus can say, do this, don't do that. The Vedas say not to eat meat, drink alcohol, and hurt another person. They are all mandates of the Shastras. But they are simply arbitrary mandates. Why certain things should be done and other things should not be done is explained in most reasonable way, and the necessary rationales are presented. But to whom are these reasonable mandates given? If everyone is behaving according to one's own nature, why is there Dharma Shastra at all? The animals do not have Dharma Shastra because they behave according to their nature. Animals do not have any will. Even if you nicely ask a tiger not to kill anyone, it may pounce on you because it thinks you are going to attack it. Nor can you ask a cat not to mew. It will simply keep on mewing. This is why such creatures do not have book on ethics and scriptures, nor do they join any congregation, let alone work for moksha. The mandates are addressed only to human beings because they have free will. But here Krishna was saying that each one behave according to his or her prakriti and nothing can stop it. They come like a big bombshell. This came like a big bombshell for Arjuna, because he had always thought that he should do something. Now Krishna was saying, no, you just go by your prakriti because nothing can stop in any way. What does this all mean? Here there is something that we need to understand, and Krishna explained it in the next verse. Likes and dislikes are there towards every object. इंद्रियस्येन्द्रियास्यार्थो रागद्वेषो व्यवस्थितो त्योर्णवशं अगच्छतौ अस्य परिपनिथनौ. इंद्रियास्य अर्थे, with reference to the object of every sense organ. Raga, dvesha, attachment and aversion. Vyavasthitu, and there. Tayo, of these two. Vasham, spell. Na agacchate, may one not come under. He, because. Tau, these two. Asyaha, one's. Paripanthinu, enemies. There are longing and aversions potential in every sense object. May not come under the spell of these two because they are one's enemies. There are longing and aversions, ragas and dveshas in every sense object. May not one come under the spell of these two because they are one's enemies. Ragas and dveshas are enemies. Repetition of the word indriyasya here is an example of a language style used in Sanskrit called vipassa. First, let us take the expression indriyasya arthe with reference to an object. Arthe of given sense organ, indriyasya. In other words, a sense object. By repeating the word indriyasya in the phrase indriyasya arthe, the meaning conveyed is with reference to every sense object. The repetition conveys the meaning of every. The verse tells us that with reference to every sense object, there are two factors present, ragas and dveshas. To every, in respect to every sense object, ragas and dveshas, likes and dislikes. This verse is the key to everything that has been said thus far and contains the entire psychology of the Gita. The senses themselves do not have an aversion or an attachment to the sense objects. They are merely reporters. What is said here is that the reference or every sense object, there can be raga or dvesha for the part of human being. Indriyasya arthe raga dveshau vyavasthitau. This is the statement of fact. May you not come under the spell of like and dislike with reference to any sense object, sound, shabda, touch, sparsha, form or color, rupa, taste, rasa, smell, gandha. There are likes and dislikes. Everyone has his or her own likes and dislikes, even the devatas. Angels also have their own likes and dislikes. And why are these likes and dislikes present? Because of Prakriti. Some people may like something because of their Prakriti. Some people don't like few things because of their Prakriti. One's own nature. In this, you have no say at all. I may like few things because of my Prakriti, my nature. I may not like few things which you may like. This is why when you tell someone I love you and the person asks why, you can only invent an answer. You do not really know why you love the person. Although one can say it is without reason, there is definitely a reason. So if you look into your psyche and ask yourself, what is it that makes you like a particular person, you will find a reason. This is why everyone has a person to like. In fact, he or she has been looking for that person. So many others came before, but not this one. Then suddenly the person appeared and there was an electrifying experience. All that can be said is that you love someone because of your swabhava, your prakriti, which can be called your subconsciousness. There is something causing you to love the person. The subconsciousness is prakriti, which may be the result of one's own past. If a man has to live his life with certain woman, or if a woman has to live her life with this man, however miserable the person may be, there will be a liking for the person, and Lord alone knows why. Only God knows. Because it is your prakriti. Prakriti is controlled by Ishvara. Being married to and living with another person is no joke. It is something that is definitely going to change the person's life. Both pain and pleasure will be there, depending upon who the person is. Why did you choose this person from among all the people in the world? You cannot say that. The Pizza Hut where you first met was responsible. You have seen many people in the Pizza Hut and nothing happened. If you had not met there, you would have met somewhere else. So it is not a particular place that is responsible. This particular meeting took place because of something within yourself. That which connects two people in this way is called karma. Shankara says that karma pradhana karma plays a role. Sanskara of dharma and adharma, punya and papa being there in everyone. This is why one person likes another person in this life too, from childhood onwards. From childhood onwards, this game starts, likes and dislikes. One picks up lot of likes and dislikes unknown to oneself. These are all buried in person's subconsciousness, and this sub is like submarine, will always also surface. And it always surfaces at the right time. In the previous verse, Krishna said that everyone acts in accordance with his or her own nature. One expresses one's nature in terms of rights, ragas and dveshas, over which no control is possible. In the present verse, in the second line, free will is brought in. Do not come under the spell of these two likes and dislike. Tayoho vasam na agachyate. Krishna did not say, do not have likes and dislikes. Such a statement would have been meaningless. He was simply saying, may you not come under this spell. You cannot avoid having certain thoughts. The mind behaves accordingly to its own logic. It is meaningless to tell someone not to entertain a particular thought. The more the person tries not to have this thought, the more he or she will have it. In fact, it may even become an obsession, a fixation. If you try to avoid anything in the name of avoiding it, it is necessarily right there in your mind. For example, if I tell a man that when he chants a particular mantra, he should not think of a monkey, what will happen? Because he wants to follow my advice before chanting the mantra, he will remember my advice. Don't think of a monkey. In order to avoid thinking of a monkey, he must think of everything that he is to avoid monkey. And after some time, he will not just see one monkey. He will see all varieties of monkeys he has seen in his life. If I ask you to think of a monkey, only one monkey will come in mind. One that was previously created, an impact on your mind. One person may think of rhesus monkey or an Indian monkey. Another may think of chimpanzee or the King Kong. In any event, only one monkey will come in your mind. However, if you want to avoid the thought of this particular monkey, you would find any number of monkeys coming one by one, starting with your own monkey, followed by rhesus monkey, then a chimpanzee, a gorilla, King Kong, rat monkey, and varieties of African monkey. They will all come one by one, all because you want to avoid thinking about monkey. To tell someone not to think of a particular object is meaningless. This is where free will comes in. The statement, do not come under their spell. Tayo vasam na agachyate, imply your will. Problem always arises when we try to avoid thoughts themselves. Some people spend their lifetime trying to avoid certain thoughts because they told that some thoughts are good and others are bad. In this process, they remain stuck with every thought they are trying to avoid. In fact, these thoughts have nothing to do with you. They have only to do with Prakriti. Therefore, what can you do about thoughts? If commoner happens to see princess and develop a raga, a desire for her, what is he to do? Because of his status, he cannot even enter the palace. And yet he has great love for the princess. He can love her all right, but he can hardly proceed on that love. What control do you have over liking a person? None. Nor should you have any control. In fact, you should leave it alone. Because if you try to control it, you will be in trouble. That thought will come again and again and again with lot of other thoughts. You will be meddling with your mind, and when you rub against your mind, you rub against nature. And in the process, you get rubbed too. Some of our modern spiritual literature is replete with statements declaring that you should avoid having certain thoughts. There are so many do's and don'ts that seeker becomes nothing but pack of nerves. Prior to becoming a seeker, the person was much more acceptable to himself or herself. But after reading so many books, the person finds so much garbage in his or her mind, because moksha is beyond all concepts of good and bad and beyond concepts themselves. Cultivating and avoiding good and bad thoughts become meaningless. All thought is prakriti. Use your free will to do what is right and avoid what is wrong. Peacefully do it. There is no, you don't have to put a rule on it. Your free will, with a free will you do it. Do what is right and avoid what is wrong. If you are a Viveki person, you know. And all of you are Vivekis. And how is your will involved here? Will is not to determine what you should and should not think, but how far you should go with the thought that arise. Your activities are not caused by the likes and dislikes appearing in your mind, but by your identification with them. Because you are identified with your ragas and dveshas, you go along with them, you being the will. The commoner who discovers the love for princess just leaves his raga alone. If he is an intelligent man, then that is, if he is a Viveki, one who has discrimination. If he is not a Viveki, he will go along with his raga and get beaten up in the process. So allow the raga dvesha to be what they are. The mind is beautiful instrument as long as you let it think and do not meddle with it. Otherwise you will be in for problem. It takes very little time because to become insane. What is being said here is, while you go on by your likes and dislikes, you should make use of your free will to do what is right and to avoid doing what is wrong. This is karma yoga, which we have been discussing for the days and days now. Do not come under the spell of your raga dvesha, because if you do, they become your enemies. The raga dvesha themselves do not form the enemies. If it is your coming under their spell that turns into your foes. When you are under the spell of your raga dvesha, you do not do what is to be done, and you do what is not to be done. In this way, raga dveshas become obstacles for you. This means that likes and dislikes are into those hands who you deliver yourself. It is these ragas, dveshas that become your obstacles. Such likes and dislikes become binding and therefore enemies, because they rob away your reason. They are linked to thieves and become your enemies. तुहि अस्य परिपन्तिहिनु. Therefore, without worrying about what happens in the mind, simply go by what is to be done and what is not to be done. Whatever is upcoming in the mind, let it be. Thoughts will come, but do what is to be done with the viveka, and don't do what is not to be done. Simply go by the rule Viveka says. Verse number 35. Following one's swadharma, swakarma is the basis of karma yoga. Shriyana swadharmo vigunaha paradharmataswanushtitat स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्म भयावह. Better is one's own imperfectly performed dharma than well performed dharma of another. It is better to perform one's imperfect dharma than a well performed dharma by another one. Death in one's own dharma is better than dharma of another is fraught with fear. This verse we'll see tomorrow. Om Tat Sat. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Tat Sat.